What's up, dudes and dudettes to the internet? My name is Seth, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Trove Gem Augmenting system. The system is like so terrible, man. It's like so overly complicated, so I hope that I can do justice in actually explaining how the system works. Now, I talked in a bit more detail in my gem re-rolling video. I kind of talked about like the ideal gems that you're going to be looking for and stuff like that, and I'm going to have another separate video that's going to just more specifically focus on just the ideal stats, just so that it's a little bit less confusing for most of you folks. But just so you know, the re-rolling video is going to be talking about the gems a little bit more detail. For today, we're kind of going to skip over a lot of it just for the sake of saving time. So first of all, if you go over to Adventures Crafting Table and go to the gem section, there's going to be these focus items. So there's going to be a bronze, silver, and a gold one. I want to confirm with 100% certainty that the gold one is not worth it. Avoid it at all costs. It is just terrible, even for a pay-to-win player like myself. Like, it really, really sucks. It's useless. Devs ended up completely over-costing the resources that you need, considering the chance of what you actually get out of this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The silver one is all right. It's not too bad to farm for, except for the fact that it's 3,000 of each gem dust, which is insane. Honestly speaking, folks, I've had my best luck out of the bronze ones just because of the fact that Hearts of Darkness are a lot cheaper right now, so you can buy them like crazy, and just generally like 2,000 flux, that's not too bad for the average player. But again, it's kind of a tie between going for the bronze and going for the silver ones. Now, each of these different items respectively is going to end up upping a certain percentage on your gem stats, but again, we'll talk about that in a minute, because first of all, I wanted to show you the bound brilliance right here, which is the required crafting item for all of these. And as of right now, free-to-play players pretty much only have one way of actually getting them. So use to augment gems, which adds stats to your and to your power rank, found in boons. So that's going to be the daily token boons, which kind of sucks, because that means that you know, for the average free-to-play player, you know, how often are you going to end up getting the boons, right? Because you're trying to save up for the mount and the ally, or whatever the other two items actually are for it, right? So good luck with that. It means you're only going to end up getting a couple of these out of the boons per month, if you even get them as a drop out of the boons. But then they're also going to end up randomly giving them us for some daily logins and some events and quests and stuff that are going to be coming up. They haven't really had anything like that just yet. But then also you're going to have the option to craft the Book of Brown Brilliance, which you can see right here is a little bit costly, but at the same time, it's kind of cheap, honestly speaking, because pentas are not really a really difficult resource to farm. 10 primal flames is easy, and 2,000 of each gem dust is considerable. There's going to be a legendary tome that you can complete 25 dungeons every week, get, you know, 5 of the bound brilliance out of it, which ultimately does make it, you know, kind of useless, because you're only going to be able to craft 5 of each of the focuses. You know, is that enough for free-to-play players to actually even get anywhere? Not necessarily. So let's go over to the Gem Forge table itself, and let me actually show you. This is one of my gems right here that I already have completely maxed out. You're going to see the percentage value right here is going to be varying on a starting level gem. So you might have it start with, it'll just be like red, yellow, or green, which is just color coding. It's not really anything to worry about. It's just if a stat value is at, let's say 34%, it's going to be in the red, meaning that you're going to have a real hard time trying to bump that up to being the full on 100%. So as you end up increasing it, you're going to see like right here, the lowest stat value that I could have had on my crit damage was 90.3%. Once you actually up it, like this stat, to 100%, it's going to be the following, 143.7. Same with down here. Like that's what the dash is. It's not saying that it's going to end with stats between 293% and 492% for max health. It straight up is telling you that this is going to be the lowest possible value of the stat that you could get, and this is going to end up being the highest value that you will get once you actually end up augmenting the gem. So once you end up selecting a different slot, you're going to end up using these augments. The bronze ones are going to pretty much up the gem's percentage by like 0.8%. The reason why I say 0.8% is because, unfortunately, it's not at a full 1% per bronze focus. I don't know if this is a mistake on the devs' part. They should seriously look into it if it is, because I've actually been using enough of the bronze focus to know that you'll have it go up 1%, 1%, 1%, and then you'll actually use a bronze focus and it won't go up by 1%. Meaning that it actually is going up by 0.8 or 0.9% each time, so that every now and then it gets on that 0.1 number and doesn't actually give a percentage, which doesn't mean that it's not increasing the stat, however, and of course consuming the item. It just means that, you know, it just isn't giving a full 1%. So then the silver ones, you know, these are going to end up being maybe 3% to like 5 or 8 or something like that. So again, these are a little bit more better to use if you want to in the long run. But again, you know, that's a lot of gem dust for you to farm for sure. Especially if you're a free-to-play player, because you can actually get some pretty good gem dust out of the gem booster boxes, oddly enough. The boon boxes are killer for getting gem dust, though, because more so than not, out of those, you're going to end up getting gem dust boxes, and usually you'll end up actually getting enough of those to trigger karma. Now, I'll talk about the pay-to-win method to actually augmenting your gems in a little bit, but first of all, I'm just going to be focusing my attention on the free-to-play players. And then for the golden one, it's not worth it because you're going to have a chance for this to augment a gem to maybe 15%. Now, I know that that sounds enticing. It really, really does. But on average, the gold one is going to end up upping the percent by 1 to 5%. So it's not really worth it. And when I'm talking about the percentages, I'm talking about these percentages because you're trying to get each of these values up to 100%. So pretty crazy, dude, that this is only going to be 1 to 5% on average. Potentially you could get really, really lucky and get 15, 15, 15. And then even then you want to watch out because let's say that you have a gem at 95%. You don't want to waste another golden focus because that would just be a waste of the extra stats that it potentially could end up giving, right? So as you end up getting closer to that sweet 100%, you're going to be using the bronze one or the silver one and then all the way down to the bronze one. Let's say you're at 98%. You don't want to be using a silver focus. You want to be using a bronze one. Now, all of that aside, I personally was actually using the gold ones as much as I could. I used up pretty much all of my Dragonite, and then I was using the silver ones like crazy. And then honestly speaking, I just use the bronze ones, man. I find them to be the most valuable because you're going to be able to get like just the most out of them in total. And especially just because of the randomness or the randomness of each of these focuses and the percentage value that they can give as opposed to what they actually give. And that's why personally, I recommend using the bronze. Do whatever you want though. Of course, you know, it's going to be completely up to you and completely up to random generation whether or not you actually end up getting your money's worth out of all of these items. Now, if you're a pay-to-win player, it's actually going to be very, very expensive. Easy to get powerful, but very, very expensive. Like legit, they are wanting you to spend close to $1,000, if not more, to augment all of the gems on one class. Yup, I know it's crazy because out of the boons, of course, you're going to have the chance to end up getting the bound brilliance, which is the biggest item that you actually want out of these. And the only way that you can get them in droves is by spending money to get the token pack right here. You're only going to get 3 tokens for 800. That's like $5 per. That's insane. And in that regard, of course, it's always more valuable to go for the highest amount of credits, which is 100 at a time, like $100 at a time, which is insane. You know, I'm very fortunate that I'm able, like, I want to say thank you, folks, because this is kind of where my time and money has been going, was researching this gem system so that you could all kind of have a bit of a graph as to just how ridiculous it actually is and the types of money that they actually want you to spend on this. Because I did end up actually getting all of my gems fully maxed out, all to 100%. And yeah, it was close to $1,000. I'm never going to spend that amount of money on Trove again. But I thought, okay, at least I'll get one character maxed out, and then I'll be able to tell you all very directly, don't do it. Like, if you're not going to be spending tons and tons of money, you know, there's a lot of other things that you could go out and get for your money that are going to be a lot more worth value, rather than getting these stupid focus items that are barely going to power up your gems. Because that's the whole thing too, is on top of all of that, we're sitting at 24,453 PR, right? Now, if I ended up augmenting gems that weren't the highest PR value that I could have possibly gotten, we would have actually been a lot weaker, and then we would have to do the whole thing all over again for gems that actually generated with higher amounts of power rank. This is where all of the, you know, unfortunately, the greed of the company comes into play, with the gem system being as random and as random and unreliable as it is, on top of spending your money on something that is an equally unreliable system. So I know we're kind of going off on a little bit of another topic here, but I wanted to kind of give you a bit of a review of it as well, because I know a lot of people have been asking, is gem augmenting actually a thing? Is it worthwhile? No. It's not worthwhile at all. Even as far as Trove is concerned, I would recommend spending your money on other stuff, because the amount that they're asking in order to actually get like a couple extra PR, and for what? So that I can solo up to Ultra Hydra boss? I can't solo Dread. I could probably solo up to the boss, but I can't solo the boss itself, and that doesn't matter how much PR you have. And even then, again, what if all of these ended up, like, maybe I didn't get lucky with my gem rolls, and I ended up having a lot of really, really bad stat gems, but I wasted all my time and effort and money augmenting all of those to 100%, and thus I would end up having to go and find myself some more gems to end up spending more money on. And that kind of is the whole thing for me that I really don't like about the system, is just the fact that they want you to use, like, there's so much luck involved. That's one of the things that is my all-time #1 criticism about Trove in general, is they leave way too much up to chance, especially when players are asked to spend money. That's just, it doesn't really work for me. But in any case, let me know what you all think, folks. Maybe you got a lot more lucky with the augmenting. Maybe you don't even think that it's a bad system, but leave your comments in the comment section down below. I would actually be really interested to hear your opinion on it. You know, this is an interesting topic for discussion, I think, but yeah, for myself personally, once I ended up coming all the way to the end of it, it's like, I say this a lot, but if I wasn't creating content on Trove, and if I wasn't able to actually make like equal to a full-time job off of my YouTube videos and stuff like that, I would not spend a cent on this game. You know, I'm very picky in that regard, that I'll go out and buy Terraria, but I'm not going to spend money to get items in Terraria, you know what I mean? Not unless it would be something that would be beneficial to both me and, more importantly, to you. That's why I don't bat an eyelash to spending those amounts of money on this game. It's just because I feel that it's investing back into you, the community, because most of you are watching these Trove videos anyways, right? So I want to give you just reviews and good opinions on all of these things. So anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what you all think. I would very much appreciate if you would like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content, as well as building up loyalty points from my merch store. Links are in the description for that. And thank goodness that's not random generation. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.